Hello, listeners. Welcome to yet another special episode of Courage Talks. Special guest is Dr. Rajat Chauhan, a doctor, sports physician, podcaster, author. He's taken the phenomenal step, and I think that's kind of a standout achievement in your profile, Rajat, that you've taken sports science to colleges like Ashoka, and you try to really make an impact in terms of the understanding of sports, and obviously your pedigree about your own running and organizing events like 𝗨𝗪𝗏 is legendary. I
Thank
still
you.
know a lot of people who hate you more for stopping that event than for anything else. We'll probably come to that part of conversation, but welcome to Courage Talks.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me over.
So a lot of us know what you are today, and obviously you're doing a phenomenal job where you are, but not many might know your background. So why don't you just take us down memory lane, your childhood days, 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀 𝗂𝗏𝗂. Were you as naughty when you were a kid, or it's a newfound thing that you built?
So I was in a boarding school. When I was 9 years old, I was thrown into a boarding school. And the evening I was left there. The next morning we were running. And I was like 9 years old. And why are people running and all that? So I was last of the pack, totally at the end. And suddenly there was a sharp shooting pain on my butt or thighs kind of area. And I turned around and my PE teacher was right behind me with a stick in his hand. And I was like, yeah, the first thing in the morning, my parents don't love me and they've thrown me out, and here you are hitting me on my butt. And he had a very interesting point. He was like, why are you coming last? I was like, what do you mean? I don't run. This is my first day. He was like, you can come second last. Look at your physique, all that. I think it was a good, interesting point that why not a little bit more? Back then I hated it, but that stuck with me, saying we can all do that tiny bit more and we give up. That played a major role. And then every fortnight we would have like a drink, Maaza drink. It was Maaza, I think. Frush. And our pocket money used to be 25 rupees. That drink was 2 rupees. So if you win it twice a month, you're getting about 20% of your pocket money, additional pocket money. And that math. And the drink used to be for the top 6 runners. I consistently would come 5th or 6th. Because why put in more effort if the prize money or prize is the same? So I got very used to the 5th, 6th kind of a thing. So my love affair with the running started because of a cane. And it's so wrong in today's world that caning is illegal. It should be totally illegal. Everyone should be allowed to cane everyone. That's how I picked up my running and wanted to represent the country. Landed up in a medical college. That's kind of important because I was in 11th standard. My parents organized a family get-together saying, 𝗪𝗀 pagal ho gaya hai. He wants to keep running. So talk sense to him. Courtesy that, landed up in a medical college, did sports medicine. But I had a head start versus my batchmates, my colleagues, even my faculty actually, because I was already running for 9 years before I went to the medical college. And why I say this is I was competing. I was decent half marathoner, full marathoner. One marathon time of 1 hour 18 minutes for folks who kind of know what a half marathon is, all that. But 2:38 for a full marathon, pretty decent times for a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Very good.
And the best part was sometimes it's great to not know what you're doing. Then you do better. You're naive and you don't have the fear of anything, no injuries, no nothing. Times don't mean much. You run for the love of it. That was me. Landed up MBBS. MBBS was, I don't know, I slept, walked through it. Then there was sports medicine, which was my only thing that made sense to me. So I did sports medicine from Nottingham. And that was kind of important for me, doing sports medicine. After that, third degree was in something called medical osteopathy. It's a glorified bone setter, basically. So for your leg kind of a foot, you need to go to a cobbler and they'll pull your hand and leg and whatever, and bone setting happens. So I have a degree for that, basically. With all due respect, no, I'm actually just messing around with all this. But point really is, it was crucial for me, that third degree, because it taught me how to touch, how to feel, how to listen. Should have happened in the first degree itself, MBBS, but it didn't. And it's totally missing. Like in medicine, we don't listen enough, we don't touch enough. And then we pick up a pen before, as soon as the patient walks in, passing a judgment, get a surgery, get an MRI, get this, get that. That third degree helped. And then I was heading something called 𝗪𝗍 training. It's a Swiss-German chain of rehabilitation centers, more Swiss than German, actually. Heading the London center for them, where strength training was used for rehabilitating, for performance enhancement, for a back pain, knee pain. That was a bread and butter. And that was like, as much as my second degree was sports and exercise medicine, on the job there, I was learning a lot more about how useful, how powerful was exercise to take care of chronic pain. And till date, I carry on with strength training being an integral part to my treatment arsenal, if it were. So that carries on. And then I was there for 5-ish years, UK, moved back to Bangalore, 2006, Manipal Hospital. I was heading the sports medicine department. And soon after 2007, I was the medical director for the first ultra marathon in India. And since I was the medical director, you can do anything. So I decided to run it as well. Bangalore Marathon, Bangalore Ultra.
Bangalore Ultra, okay.
Yeah. And the longest distance was 74. I ended up running a distance which showed up on the results as 00. I'd done 100 kilometers. And they could only write or think 2 digits, not 3.
Yeah.
And I ran 3. And I had the whole medical team with me. I was the medical director. So it was from the hospital, and the whole department, sports medicine department was there. 10 of us or something were there. So they made sure I got 200. So that was that. And then I was doing 𝗨𝗹𝗁. We started, maybe we can talk about it more, but that started in 2010. And I'm running the clinic in Delhi since 2009. One thing worthwhile saying is, I mean, we can touch on these things later more in detail, but I'm a visiting faculty for National Police Academy, Hyderabad, where after UPSC exam, people who get into IPS, I play a role in how to prevent injuries, how to optimize their training while they're there in Hyderabad at National Police Academy, 43, 44 weeks. So I go visit once in a month or once in 2 months, and with mid-career program that is there for already officers serving in the forces for last 10, 15, 20 years. So that, and other things, I mean.
So you took up running so easily. Was it there in your genes? Any of your parents who are physically active in any of sports or anything?
No, I think genes-wise, what happened was both family sides, basically farmers. When your farming background is there, everyone walks and goes to the farms and all that. So dad's been a walker for last, as long as I've known, actually 40 plus years, if not more. He walks still, cycles, he bikes every day for 60 minutes or something at a very decent. He's 81 and he bikes about an hour, and he covers about 30 kilometers on stationary bike, but yet at a decent pace. So genes, as in everyone was walking. So that helps.
No, I think similar. My dad never ran, but he was brisk walk. I think he walked a lot. So I think that does help as well. And sports medicine, was it like a standout choice? People asked you questions, ye kya kar raha hai bhai?
Bilkul. There was no sports medicine in India. I mean, there was 𝗚𝗏𝗏 Patiala and all that, and the Russian era, all that, or Soviet. Soviets had a major impact on 𝗚𝗏𝗏 Patiala, but with all due respect, it wasn't up to the mark at all, really. Like internationally, what was going on. And I was keen on sports medicine because no other field was making any sense to me. I liked pediatrics, not because of medical part, but I liked kids, and hence I liked pediatrics. And I was like, this is the wrong reason to get into it. You need to love the medical part of it. And sports medicine, I had a head start, as I said, versus my batchmates and staff and faculty. Because in a medical college, we call it healthcare industry, but the point really is it's primarily illness and sickness industry. And this is with all due respect. This is not like to shame them or pull them down. We are very good with sickness and illness, and that's what we are trained in. Healthcare is slightly off. It's about how do you go to the gym? How do you perform better? How do you run better? Where's the performance? How do you get to the Olympics? Now, that was my space, really. How do you perform better? And I'd been in that space for, as I said, 8-9 years before hitting the medical college. So that was coming to me, but very naturally saying, cardiovascular, how do you do more? Not get sick and then we get you back. I wasn't into the sickness space, performance. So that was my natural first thing, like, hey, listen, where do I do it from? And to your point, yes, it did stand out because when I was actually moving back, so it wasn't much of an issue going there and studying. So I was at Nottingham. But when I finally packed up from UK, coming back to Bangalore, it was either British or Virgin Atlantic, one of the two flights. And it was an overnight, and I was just up, not sleeping, and the air hostess came and got chatty with me, and she was like, so I had a very thick British accent, and she was like, so are you going for a holiday? I was like, no, actually, I'm moving back. And she was like, so what do you do? I was like, I'm a sports medicine chap. And she was like, sports medicine, you're moving back to India. Do you guys play any sports at all?
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. To be a sports into sports medicine when there are no sports.
Yeah, precisely. And it was so cool because air hostess on the flight encouraging you so much. Like,
Yeah.
why are you going back? Right? And she made a point. She was like, cricket is not a sport. So don't tell me you'll go
Yeah.
fix cricketers.
Though Virat
As
Kohli would
luck,
want to disagree, but
yeah, we can. As luck would have it, my course director was actually the chief medical officer for the English cricket team, England and Wales Cricket Board.
okay.
And I had been with them for the 2003 Cricket World Cup, which happened in South Africa. So cricket was my main like dissertation for the whole program. I'd actually done on spin bowling, all that stuff. As much as I would say this, but I was involved in the 2003 World Cup one day and 2007 and 11. Basically, there's a sports medicine, cricket science and medicine conference happens along with the one day cricket World Cups. It started in 99 and 2003 and 7. So
Okay.
those two, I was there. 2007, I was already back in India and I was representing the subcontinent. So basically, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan was representing us. And I was presenting a paper and also taking the whole other people from other countries about back pain and cricketers. So that was my thing. How do you do that? And you'll remember this World Cup because I was doing a parallel session with a chap called Woolmer, Bob Woolmer. Just that he had died a few days before the session happened. And he was at cutting edge when we talk about sports, medicine, and science of cricket. I don't know if you recall, but he used to carry a laptop with him when
Yes,
laptops weren't very common.
that's true. Yeah.
Like recording every bit of like how long does it take for the batsman to hit from wherever to wherever, how slow or fast should the shot be, common sense for a cricketer. But the point really is he was calculating for every player all the time.
Yeah.
Various things. Like I'm just giving a random example here. Like how slow should the shot be so you can take 2 runs rather than one? So it's almost reverse of what most people would do. They'll hit very hard.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is cutting edge stuff happening so long ago.
Hmm.
And as much as I would joke about cricket, but the science and medicines has been at cutting edge for a while
Yeah.
in this space.
So in the early stages, having set the context, was it really a struggle to do a lot of work in sports medicine after you came back?
First movers advantage that people keep talking about, what you end up doing, and this whole big deal about pioneer this, pioneer that.
Yeah.
I think what you do for the rest of the world is you open up, you show them the path. And that's
You do
what,
all
I
the
mean,
mistakes on their behalf as well.
yeah. And to them, it seems like a natural thing, like, oh, but obviously, it's a bit of a secret or it's a trade secret. And once you put it out there, then it's not anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
common sense kind of a thing. Oh, but of course. But it could have taken that, but of course, 2 years or 3 years or more, maybe, or 10 years. That,
Hmm.
but of course. I've been at strength training and performance and injury management and rehabilitation last 25 years. Lucky to have been at the right places at the right time. But
Yeah.
the point is, today, if you look at longevity and all those things, if you talk about and those books and those so-called experts, yeah, they claim how they discovered muscle and strength training. This has been on for 70 plus years. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
And when I was whether in Bangalore or now in Delhi since 2009, I was the guy talking about, strength and addressing chronic disease or aches and pains 2009, 2008, 2006 while I was in Bangalore. And now it seems like a common sense thing. So of course, you open it for others and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, about that first mover advantage.
So you've been running for 4 decades and you've been in the medical profession for at least 3+ decades. And I don't give you a choice. You have to pick one. Are you a better runner because you are also into sports medicine? Or are you a better doctor because you're also a runner?
I'm a better doctor because I'm a runner, easily by far. When a sports person is sitting across the table, if you can't actually put yourself in those shoes and feel what they feel, what does it mean if they can't run that race? What does it mean if they can't play the sport anymore? What does it mean to get a surgery or not? What if they're off from a tennis court for a few months? If you don't understand that mentality, you have no business sitting in that chair across them because then you're being judgmental, which very, very high percentage people are. They could be very good technicians, doctors, but
Yeah.
that doesn't help if you don't understand the sports part of it.
The psyche,
So I would totally. So the psychology of it, I would actually extend it. Even when I deal with pain, chronic pain,
yeah.
I'm lucky to have had 2 slip discs in my neck, 2 in the lower back, right shoulder injury and a right and a left knee and a left ankle and one rib broken, all that. Good to have had that because I then look at them in a different way. So I'm lucky to have had those injuries and recovered and all that, like in way surgery, no surgery, because my perspective is very different suddenly. So not only sports, but even with pain.
So anytime you get injured, you're like, ab ye seekh lunga.
But I actually do. I mean, I kind of look forward to it in a way. Like, of course, it hurts for a bit, but then it's like, theek hai yaar. There's some learning here. Yeah.
So the topic is courage. What does courage mean to you? And you want to elaborate with an example, your own or anyone else?
Definitely. I think to me, it's very, very simple. Courage. Courage is things are going wrong, things are falling apart. And sitting right now in a room where AC is on and 99.999 forever, 9%, nothing will go wrong in the next 1 hour. I'm pretty sure, very close to sure. But when things are falling apart, it's almost definite that there's failure coming along or there's going to be pain or whatever.
Yeah.
And then saying, listen, I'm yet going to give it a shot. So your chances of success are very low. And success could mean anything. Getting to the finish line could be staying alive, whatever. Now, example that you're asking is 2019. We were organizing the 10th edition of 𝗨𝗪𝗘𝗂𝗿. This is a race in Ladakh. And let me back off again. So 555 kilometers was the longest distance. So it was the 10th edition that we were doing. And mountains are mountains, Ladakh being even more, Himalayas being even more interesting. When we started, it was overcast and it started raining so we were starting from Nubra and we would go at about 12,000 feet or something. And we were headed towards 𝗨𝗪𝗀𝗧. At that time, the highest motorable mountain pass at 17,700 feet. And it had started to rain 3, 4, 5 kilometers into the race. And by about 𝗨𝗪𝗀𝗧, it was white out totally. So it was snowstorm, white out. And now the thing is, in that race, the trick is to stay alive rather than trying to get to the finish line. And my job is not to make people finish the race. My job is to make sure they come back home alive. So when you say courage is when things are falling apart, there's a snowstorm, your crew members are not where they should be, and these runners decide to yet carry on knowing there's no one for next 30 kilometers and you're going higher and higher and higher. And a very simple thing at high altitude running is, especially in that danger zone of 15,000 and beyond the North Pole, is basically oxygen is very low and it's minus 15 degrees and it's all white out. And there's a good chance there's no one for the next 30 kilometers. And those 30 kilometers could take you 6 or 7 hours. And you know what? You could actually potentially die. It might not hit you at that time. All these things come along when you sit in a comfy room like we both are sitting right now. Everyone decided to carry on. I had to pull out a few people because they did not meet the cutoff mark.
You had a legal reason to stop them. Psychologically, emotionally, you could not have, but legally you could.
No, but that's the reason I have the cutoff. So you know that, hey, listen, these are the rules of the game. And if you don't meet the cutoff, you're out. And there were folks, again, talking about courage, there were folks who were hypothermic. They were totally wet with the clothes because of the rain and then the snow. I was giving them whatever spare clothes we guys had as crew members. They were yet wanting to be out there. They're struggling. They're literally struggling to breathe. We are literally talking about life, death here. So it's not even exaggerating, really. You're at that fine edge. You get things wrong, the guy dies. And it was very, very difficult when you have to disqualify people, not necessarily, as you said, sometimes there's a medical reason rather than just a straight cutoff. Times is an easy one. But when you have to tell them medically not fit, you can't go, which I had to do. That was harsh. But that's the courage that I'm actually talking about, like yet carrying on with it. 𝗧𝗃𝗃 Power, she's a runner from Delhi. She fell a few times in that snow. And she carried on till so she was taking part in 222 kilometers that year. She had an ankle pain, similar to what we were talking about you earlier a little bit. So she had an ankle pain starting from, I think, 60 kilometers or so. She carried on. At about 180 or so kilometers, I confirmed to her, by the way, a stress fracture, if not more. And she went on to the next pass because each 111 kilometers has a high pass. So she went on to 𝗺𝗓𝗏, back again. And I think she missed the cutoff. 205 kilometers is what she got to. And she couldn't carry on anymore. She carried on a stress fracture, fractured leg, ankle, for about 100 kilometers with all that pain that was there. I'm just picking on one, but the point really is there were so many. Jason, who ended up finishing first, at about 250 kilometers, I get a call saying, knee is hurting, what do I do? I was like, listen, you can get an injection done by one of my colleagues, but as soon as the injection happens, you're out of the race. It's simple, very straightforward, and go back home and have fun then. He was taking part in 555 kilometers. He decided not to get the injection and carried on. And through the pain, you still have 300 kilometers to go at high altitude. And you're meeting the cutoff by 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all that stuff only, not too much. And the guy ended up coming first in 555 kilometers, becoming the first person to actually do this. So the body-mind connect, where you're saying, listen, potentially things can go wrong. Potentially it can be as wrong as never again running, something that you love. If things go wrong, it could be death. And yet saying, hey, listen, I'm going to do it because I love it. And I think that love, that Josh, is kind of very, very important for whatever it be. It could be for the country or whatever it be, courage, war, different thing altogether. We come very close to that. And there was an official army team that had come along. And again, hats off to the guys. The way these chaps, the Siachen, what are they called? I'm forgetting the term right now, sorry. Ladakh Scouts. So Ladakh Scouts, they taught the foreigners, the elite foreign ultra runners, that there's a different way to approach ultra running at high altitude. Not by going slow, but by going faster. Really? And they did 111 kilometers, crossing that very high pass Kardum and back again, finishing in Leh in 12 hours. Wow. 111 kilometers at that altitude. Wow. So that's yet again courage, because when you're running at that pace, at that altitude, high altitude sickness hits you harder. Yes, they're Ladakhis, but at the same time, listen, 18,000 feet is 18,000 feet.
Of course, it impacts everyone the same way.
It impacts, exactly. You could be a high lander, all that stuff. It doesn't really care much. So again, yet again, courage. You have that fine line. Make a mistake, you die. And that's the difference between a high altitude race and a race in Delhi or Pune or Bombay. Yeah, dehydration hota hai low altitude mein.
Here's another trick question. Among all the professions, we struggle a lot to convince people to run. Doctors are a really tough breed, I would say, to convince them to run. I'm sure you know better. What is more difficult for a determined runner who is not physically fit and you have to tell him not to run versus convincing a doctor to run?
Doctors are trickier because they know it all. And the best part, I'll add to this, I'll make it more interesting. We guys have become custodians, gatekeepers of health. And as I said, we are not in the health space. We're into sickness, illness space. And then we tell people, so let me just push that, the two questions you had, or two options. It's my colleagues who are then telling you not to run, or to run, or to lift a weight, or not to lift a weight, or do a deadlift or not, or to do which exercise or not. I wonder, when were we taught any of this? Because we were not taught. As MBBS, there was nothing about, we know the muscle, it starts from here to there. We know that. We do not know how to perform better. That was never part of the course or the curriculum. Running was never the part of the curriculum, saying, what does it take to run? How is a 5 different from a 10K to a half to a full? Never a part of MBBS. Knee injuries. Most common knee injury in a runner is not knee arthritis that even today people think. It's something called iliotibial syndrome, iliotibial band syndrome. It's a muscle imbalance rather than actually the knee itself. And until very recently, most of my colleagues would get it wrong because they weren't seeing enough runners. All I'm really saying is, because we have a degree or more, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then we suddenly know everything. And that's our biggest problem with us doctors. We just know it all. Yeah, it's tougher to get them moving. But I wish more doctors ran and walked and all that, because more than what we prescribe, what we do matters most. Patients take away that more than whatever we write on a sheet of paper.
That's true. That makes sense. You started 𝗨𝗪𝗏. Any trigger point? What are the initial conversation? How did the whole idea of 𝗨𝗪𝗏 come about?
So I had done the Bangalore Ultra, I'd done 100, and this was 2007. What hit me right then with a couple of friends was India has all kind of geographies and weathers and all that. Seasons, all kind of. Why don't we do it in different geographical areas, from desert to Himalayas to maybe in Kerala and things like that, and forest and Western Ghat, Eastern Ghat, all that. Anyways, 2008, we were running from Jodhpur to Jaisalmer. It was a marathon or more every day for the 5 days, doing that bit. And it was already work in progress in the head, saying like, what next, what next? And this was 2008. And 2009, I called a friend like someone like yourself. And I called that friend of mine on Wednesday saying, let's go to Manali. He was like, why? Like, we'll run from Manali to Rohtang Pass. And that's a 51 kilometers. Obviously, if I'm calling a friend, he has to be a nutcase like me, right? So he right away immediately said, let's go. And we ended up going there. And from Manali to Rohtang Pass, we took a car that was supposed to taxi, which was our crew team. And the driver was excited because he was like, why are these mad people doing what they're doing? And we carried on doing whatever. But the point is, halfway through, there was a landslide. And we had to stop because the road was blocked. And we looked at each other and we laughed aloud because we were not men. We are overrated when we call ourselves men. We are just boys at the end of the day, all of us. Or we think we are boys, whatever. What had happened, we were both exhausted totally. And more than exhaustion, altitude was starting to hit us, which we didn't realize at the time.
Yeah.
And me more so because, as I said, we doctors know it all. So I had read a paragraph, 3 sentence long, in my textbook of medicine once upon a time, what is high altitude sickness. So I was an authority on high altitude sickness suddenly. And I had a few degrees, 3 degrees to back it up. I knew nothing about high altitude sickness. We both laughed at each other because we were like, I'm glad that the landslide happened because we couldn't have gone anyways any further. So that was the first thing about when we came back to Manali. At a cafe, we saw a map from Manali to Leh going up like waves like that. And I was like, dude, listen, because back then, the big ultra everyone was excited about was a race called Badwater, Death Valley, California. And I was like, amazing. We can have our own Badwater. We can follow rules, regulations from there, the distances, all that. But Manali to Leh is a little longish, but somewhere in between till whatever distance is 217, let's do that. That was the original idea it started off with. A friend said, why 217? Why copy whoever? Why don't you think of your own distance? Why copy a distance from wherever? I said, like, listen, I'm not going to lower the distance. If anything, let's increase it. And then I looked up on Google the number 222, and it said, if you're thinking about this number, if you're looking at this number, you're on the right path, carry on doing whatever you're doing. Like, that's simple, yeah. That's pretty easy. So that's where the love affair, this whole triple numbers started, triple or double or repetitive numbers. And the army told us it can't be done. Through friends, I spoke to some other army friends and colleagues and all that, or friends. And they said, you'll end up killing someone, man. You're a civilian, you can't do it. Some version of that. I love the part where I was told that I'm a civilian and hence I can't do it. I need things like that. That it can't be done and I'm a civilian or I'm not good enough kind of a thing. Well, okay, fair enough. So that was a good trigger to say, I'll show you how it's done. Medical friends will kill someone is what they said. And locals in Ladakh itself or Leh itself said, you don't understand the geography enough, you don't understand the place enough, and you're trying to do something impossible. So what I'm saying is, and my friends from business school said you'll go bankrupt. What I'm saying is when I'm told it can't be done is when I get a high.
To do it.
Exactly. And I'm like, now let's do it. Because if it's easy or if it's difficult, the rest of the world is queuing up to do it. Yeah. So I think that was the trigger for why do Lalcha. Yeah.
So did some sane man stop you from at 555 or were you looking at 666 and beyond as well?
No. So what happened was why 222 became a 333 was we had done 3 editions. I was talking to a friend who had finished the race and I was talking to him, how difficult did he find our race? Was it the world's toughest? All that stuff. And he said, hey, listen, your race is very difficult. Don't get me wrong, but it is not the world's toughest race. And I was like a little heartbroken. It was almost like a breakup kind of a scene happening there. Like, what the hell, man? Come on. This is the toughest. I was like, what if I increase it by 111 kilometers? Would we be tough enough then? And this guy has done the crazy things and all that. He had been like an endurance athlete of the year for Spain or something. I think the year before or after that or something. Anyways, his response was, yes, it'll be the toughest race in the world. So that was a natural thing, 333. And actually the same year, we reduced the distance to 111. And till then, no Indians were coming because they were not qualifying. There was no platform. There was nothing to show that they were good enough to enter this race. When we introduced 111, they who had done 100 kilometers here and there, and a race in Ladakh multiply by add 40% extra to or more. So if they've not done 150 for 111, I mean, you can't qualify, you don't qualify. So anyways, some runners, Indian runners came along, and that's one lesson from 𝗨𝗪𝗀, that sometimes to help people to go further, lower the bar, don't raise the bar. So Indians came along. Now, eventually, over a few years, Indians started taking part in 222 and then 333, finishing it. And then it was the 10th edition when we said, okay, and when I planned 333, by the way, the fun part, I rarely admit to this part. So hardly any people were finishing 222 in the first 3 years. Not many people finished. So we were like, we'll increase it to 333. Hardly anyone will finish it, or maybe no one will finish it. So let's figure out
The number of
where
people
they stop.
finishing 222 increased.
Yes. So that increased, and 333 finishes we started having. And it was like, oh my God, but we thought they can't do it. We'll just see, will they get to 270 or 280, or where will they fall apart? So we were really enjoying the whole 333 journey. It was not easy. Not enough people were able to enter or finish all that stuff. 555 happened as the 10th edition, special edition types. It was a one-off, meant to be a one-off. And again, I and my core team was very clear. I mean, we should not have been very clear that no one is going to get to a 555 finish. All three people who actually finished it, they came very, very close to not even getting to 333, by the way. They made it by this much to 333 and back again to doing whatever. But the point really is, it wasn't as easy. I mean, now it seems easy because three of them did it. That's why 555 happened. But to your point, what happened with all of this is when they took a U-turn at 333, the three people made the cutoff of 72 hours for 333 by less than 10 minutes, all three. 72 hours cutoff by 10 minutes. Like if you do the percentage, that's like a very small margin there. So when they were turning back, they had already pushed as much as they could physically. Now the game on was, let's see how much psychologically, mentally strong they are. And that was the one thing that I was trying to look at with 𝗨𝗪𝗀 was that ultimate of high, like when you have that high and the psychology and how when you get into a Zen zone, I was trying to figure that part out, the ultimate runner's high.
Breaking point, yeah.
Yes, breaking point, or you get to that zone where it's Zen
Doesn't
zone.
matter. You keep going on. Yeah, you can just keep going
Yes,
on.
you hit the flow. When the 555 kilometer first runner had crossed 500 kilometers, he was running at a pace of 5 to 5.5 minutes per kilometer after having run 500 kilometers in less than 5 days at that altitude.
I would love to see a video grab of that. What a sight it would be for someone who's running at that pace.
I'll share, actually, there's a documentary on this. Luckily, we captured all of it. It's called Moving Mountains Within. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
Moving Mountains Within, worth watching. Please do. So it captures this little bit. There's a 30-second of him actually flowing after having done all that. So what happened was, my intent was very simple, trying to figure out where is that ultimate bit. And I found it. Like, listen, now they're kind of ready to go to, imagine Pandavas have beaten the Kauravas and they're now kind of headed to Himalayas, that kind of a thing. So I think 555 did it for us.
Yeah. Coming to the role of a race director, what's the part that you hate the most?
So being a sports medicine doctor, you can never take that hat off. I mean, I call myself a quack, or sometimes I call myself a vet, and vet for species Homo sapiens. So what I try to address in that, when I say that, veterinarian for Homo sapiens, we guys tend to have that demigod or god kind of in our heads. We think of it like that syndrome. Some of us, or quite a few of us. And same is the problem with the species Homo sapiens in any case. They, being human, all that. Look at the world right now. We are overrated. Like, we don't deserve any of that. We are the best and all that. We are nothing. So I think we're just one of the species. And I'm a guy who takes care of that one of the species. I'm a vet, not for dogs or monkeys or cats, but for Homo sapiens. And I forgot the question really. What was the question?
What's a part about a race director that you hate the most?
Right. So what happens is, being a doctor, sports medicine at that, first thing is to keep people alive. And as a race director, your role is to start the race and probably get some people to finish the race. So there's a conflict of interest right there. So max split personality happening in my head when I've played that role, because I need to do both, keep them alive and get them probably to the finish line. And that's a very tricky part. The part that I would hate the most as a race director is, again, the third element. I'm a runner. I've been a runner, and hence I put all that together. And hence I get a lot more runners coming to me. Deep inside, I want everyone to finish. But as I said, as a good human being or as a good doctor, I want everyone going back home safely, to their loved ones, whether they finish or not.
Conflict.
So exactly, all these things are going on in your head.
Yeah.
So when you have to pull out a runner because they didn't meet the cutoff, they didn't do a certain distance in a certain time, which is kept there for their own safety. But yet, at that time, emotions are flying high. They've trained for this race for 6 months, 9 months. They've paid a lot of money. They've come on a holiday for 15, 20 days, all them paying for it. And not cheap, entry fees, all that. They're looking at a lot of elements. The most important element in today's world is social media. They've told the social media they're going for this race. That hits them the most than anything else. They're ready to die, but tell on social media that, oh, listen, I didn't finish. So when I disqualify or would disqualify people, there have been people who are very good friends and then stop talking to me because I disqualify them. And I don't regret pulling them out because I, in my head, took a decision to save them. I don't love it that they don't talk to me anymore, but it was a decision that had to be made. And what is a good friend, by the way? A good friend is who stands with you when you're not right and tells you, shut up, this is the way it's done. Rather than who says, no, but it's okay. I mean, that's not a friend, yeah.
Term gain for short-term loss.
Precisely. So I'm saying that's what I have signed up for as a race director. Hate it, but that's the thing I need to do with them.
Gandha hai par dhandha hai.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's come down to the plains. You did this coach to 6K program with Adidas runners. And the interesting bit that touched me was someone who's actually done such big races is now playing around, literally playing around or toying around with amateurs or people who are not used to the terminology called running, and you need to get them to start running. Any examples or any instances that remain from your memory of picking up these raw amateurs and getting them, and someone who's not run, maybe running a 5K would be equivalent to that 555 guy. The joy can't be vastly different.
Totally. So, as I said, the name of the documentary for the 10th edition is called Moving Mountains Within. It is not about 555 or a 5 or a 55. It's your mountain within that needs to be moved. It could very well be during COVID times. This is my favorite example, actually. When I had COVID, like quite a few of us, so I was lucky enough to get it as well because that was Vipassana for me. I sat in my room doing Vipassana for 1 month, disconnected from the world. So getting from the bed to the loo on your own, when you couldn't even stand, there were times you were bloody crawling here. And that time, that was my mountain within that I had to kind of overcome. So that was a very big challenge. And that was a game changer for me, that little reflection on it, saying, boss, this is tough, man. That changed my whole outlook. Even before it was because we had already done different distances. For the 10th edition, we also had 55. So we were appreciating, recognizing all distances equally. In my head, I didn't care too much if someone is a 555 or a 55. They were equal to me. I wasn't differentiating between them. Now, coming to your point, when we did a 0 to 6, this was in 2013 or 14 edition had just got over. And what had happened was Women's Health magazine had reached out to me, India Today Groups, one of the magazines. And they had said, could you help some of the ladies run longer or begin running 0 to 6 at the Delhi half marathon? So it started with that. And we kind of bounced ideas like, how would it be? I was like, listen, one thing, please, can I just, you do the whole magazine thing, stories about this, support if in some way you can support us. But other than that, let me take it on in my way. Don't interrupt, don't jump in, any of that. And that's kind of important when you do these things. Lalta would not happen if there were 3 people deciding things. Love it or hate it, you need a dictator to make it happen, right? In that case, me. So 0 to 6 was the same story again. There were women, 16 women, aged from 16, or maybe they were a little lesser, 13 to 60, and there were 16 of them. Those are the correct numbers, if I remember. And except for 1 or 2 who had done remotely some kind of walks or maybe some jog here and there, there was one who had been like a volleyball player in school. Other than that, it was like, not really. The 60-year-old lady, still a very good friend. So she's what now, 73, 74. She still runs. She was advised knee surgeries, replacements, all that. Not replacement, but surgeries for sure. Arthroscopic surgeries at 60. And she had the misfortune of meeting me in the clinic. And here she is running now, still running.
Didn't go for the surgery, obviously.
No, she didn't. I mean, well, that's where I come in. So, I mean, not that all surgeries are bad and at all times. I mean, sometimes there's a need for them and sometimes not. But in that case, I just thought, hey, listen, let's work with rehab and all that. And she's done wonderfully well for herself. All I'm really saying is I came back after having put together 333. That was it. 2014 is when 13 or 14. I put together that one for the first year. It was a tough one. There was a finisher for 333. And here I was struggling with these ladies, not so much about the gender part, but the beginner part. So nothing about being disrespectful about gender. And I have a lot of respect for women, by the way. I mean, I get along with women a lot more and I probably understand them a lot more than men. And having said that, I don't understand them at all, but I understand them more than men. But they wear so many hats. They are mothers, they are sisters, they are wives, they are homemakers. And there's a very good chance they are working also outside, other than the 24/7 at home. So they have always focused on others and not themselves. So their reason for quitting on running programs and all that or fitness programs is a very simple one. They never focus on themselves. They've been trained by the society, definitely the Indian society, do for everyone else, not for you. I struggled. I really struggled to keep them on track, saying, please come back and whatever else. It wasn't easy because the priority was simple for them, not me, but the family, but work, but this, but that. And getting them back again and again, all of us, all the ladies and me, we took part in that 0 to 6. And it was phenomenal because here someone was advised surgery, 60 plus, there's this 13-year-old. So 13-year-old was a younger daughter of one of the participants. Both the daughters were in that group and the mother. So it was like a very interesting mix, a lot of bachelors or some married expats, all kind of permutation combinations. And that was a massive challenge because 0 to anything, that was the big learning for me. So 222 to 333 wasn't a big one. To a nutcase, you need to go and say the right word or a sentence or a phrase, and they'll do it. But if you actually talk about a beginner, someone who's actually starting from 0, has stopped more times than has started, it needs a lot of patience, just patience and various kind of stories that have to be told, how you kind of get the team working together. And it took a lot more than putting La Ultra together, the 4 editions that I put together. When I did the first time, the 0 to 6 with the beginners.
Yeah.
I've carried on doing it, yet I'm started a new program similar. But the point is, the very first time was the toughest one for me. The very first time you do it is a lot more tougher.
Talking about women runners, I read this book, Fitter, Further, Faster. It's literally taken to the history of women running and how way back in 1920s and 1930s, even to get a 800 meter for women or 400 meter for women was a challenge. Marathon was what, 1980 when it came in, much later. And it talks about the kind of challenges which women have had to fight. Of course, the Boston Marathon, how the woman came into the race and started running among men. That's quite famous as well. But the most interesting part is this ultra runner, Lisa, who was going to be on my podcast, probably in the same season as you. She talked about how her being a mother, she did not want that to prevent her from her training. You know, when you're running ultra distance, you are running that 100, 200 miler whenever you are. But obviously on a day-to-day basis, you need to do those 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles. So when she could not convince anyone to babysit, so I was asking her, how do you managing kids? So she said, if I can't find a babysitter, if nobody can take care of my baby, I take them along. I said, what do you mean take them along? No, I take them in a stroller. I said, okay. Sometimes I've taken 2 kids in 2 strollers, one at the front, one at the back. I said, no, come on. Maybe it's a flat, easy terrain. Maybe you're going in the park. She said, no, I went for my long run. I did a 20 miler with 2 kids along. I said, no, not possible. Then she's actually shared a picture as well. The very fact that a woman is raising hand and saying, I will do it, half the battle is won.
Totally. But no, can I add more to this whole, the women runner part? So during the second edition of La Ultra, only one person had finished it in the first edition, 2010. In the second edition, the first and the second, there was a gap of about 2 hours between the first and the second at about 150 kilometers. So you crossed from Nubra to Khardungla back to Leh, and now you're in the gorges before, Rumsi and all that come along. So this lady's name is Sharon Gator. The guy who's leading the race was a professional boxer earlier, very good runner and all that. Sharon Gator was basically listening to me, but the guy who was coming first He was not listening to me a little. So not that I had a lot of experience, only second year into the race, but I kind of knew more than them by 1 year. But they were seasoned runners. Now, at high altitude, a very basic thing is if you don't actually stop and eat, if you eat while walking or running, more so running, very simple thing. At high altitude, there's a bit of a confusion for the body. Basically, the body is saying, I want to stay alive. So the oxygenated blood is rushing to the brain more than anywhere else. But if you try running or walking, you're confusing the body already because now there's a, hey, listen, do you want to move or do you want to stay alive? That kind of a decision is being made. And the body kind of prefers being alive more than actually moving. Okay.
Yeah.
But then to further confuse, if you say, Acha, by the way, let's eat some food. Now you're utterly confusing the body saying, do you want to stay alive? Do you want to eat food or do you want to move? And the gut takes a lot of blood, by the way. So a lot of oxygenated blood is now rushing to the gut and not to the brain. And you can collapse if you eat while you run. This is a very simple tip for anyone doing any high altitude stuff. Please stop and eat. Now, Sharon listened to me. She slowed down because she was feeling very tired at that stage when I told her this little trick. And she slowed down. She was already lagging behind by 2 hours. Now, we need to remember that she was actually the world champ for 7 days of running, beating men also actually at that time. So she was actually a good ultra runner, by the way. So she was not like just any runner. I'm still trying to remember the name of the guy who was leading. But anyways, he was in the front. He was now on the climb up to Anglangla. And I'd said the same thing to him earlier and even then. He wasn't listening. Boxer usually don't listen. So he knew what he was doing, kind of a thing. And Sharon not only caught up with him, but actually came first. And what I'm really saying is these kind of things are very amazing. I mean, she was asthmatic, high altitude, ends up coming first in an ultra race and beating the other guy like by a half an hour or 1 hour or whatever she did. A woman came first. So much for this whole thing about men versus women. Another story on this is I'm a consultant to an NGO called 𝗧𝗹𝗏𝗀. So they look at girls from lower socioeconomic strata, broken homes, all that, at a chain of schools called 𝗧𝗹𝗏𝗀𝗏 Balika Vidyalayas. They're across the country. We were putting together our first organized races for a day event for these girls from 5 schools from Mewat, Nu region, Haryana. And these girls predominantly from girls from Muslim background, like religion. So the way they would dress up, cover their head and stuff like that. And it was like a hot March or whatever day, month it was. And we had put together 100, 200, 400 and 800 meters around a 200-meter track. Hot day, very hot day. Most of them, as I said, were covered the way they would culturally. And it was making it even hotter for them. Now, the 200 meters were fine. And we had done 3 age groups, starting from 10 years of age. So middle school, junior school, senior school, that kind of a thing. And 200-meter track, they were fine. When the 400-meter was happening, we had 200-meter, 400, 800, and 1600. At 400, they were already struggling. And few of them fell down because of the heat in the 400 meters. Now, we were pretty sure that we'll not carry on with the other 2 distances, 800 and 1600. So we called the girls and we told them that, listen, sorry, but we'll not be doing anything else. And one of the girls turned around and said, sir, listen, no one does anything for us in this world. You're one of the first people who come from so far and you're putting an event together for us. You put all this stuff for us, right? You're organized. The tracks are there. You have medals for us and T-shirts for us and all that stuff. Please, you're not going to not do it. You do not understand. This is massive for us. Someone doing anything for us. At most, we'll fall down. I was like, look at that. Yeah, amazing. And they did. They did the 800. They did the 1600. Now coming to the main part of the story. So there was this girl who was 12 or 13 years old. And she was doing the miler, 8 laps of the 200-meter track. And she started. There were other girls in the group. They were quicker than her. They took off and she was like jogging slowly, kind of a thing. And other girls started a bit quick, slowed down, fell off, whatever, stopped. And this girl carried on very slowly, maintaining a pace throughout. And she finished 4th. Maybe she didn't even get the medal. But the amazing part was she had the discipline to start slow. What I'm really trying to say with these few stories, what we need is more world leaders who are women than men. They'll probably do better.
All the wars in the world are started by men, including the one at home, by the way.
And to add to that, when it comes to male pain versus women pain, what is a male pain? Male pain is when the pen hits your hand. That's a male pain. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I got stuck with a pen or whatever. Women pain, when we talk about pains, the whole delivery pain that is there is considered like a very, very high one. Sorry?
14 fractures simultaneously. That's what I've read somewhere. It's
I
true?
mean, that's maybe. I didn't know this one. This is interesting for me. But it's agony. If it's a natural labor that the lady goes through, it's quite a bit. And even the 9 months, quite a few of them, the 9 months aren't comfortable, especially the third trimester for quite a few of them. And then after that, they have to take care of that child for next 18, 19 years or so, along with the father as well. Be it that, that's a lot of pain. So,
Too many kids.
too many kids.
That's true. Coming to your Hyderabad stint with the police academy, you said it's prevention. So there are two scenarios of prevention. One is this 𝗪𝗓𝗪, the police academy people who are just being told how to prevent injury. And then there are the 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗀 who don't think that they need any advice. They know how to run because they put one leg in front of the other and start running. But they have an injury and then they come back. Does the latter really improve their chances of prevention just because they got injured once, or they keep making mistakes?
What is amazing about humans is we never learn from our mistakes. That's one unique thing about humans. Whoever.
Between new mistakes to make.
Yeah. No. The old ones as well. I mean, new ones, though, is a bonus. No, there are a couple of things. I'll come back to Police Academy in a bit, and please remind me if I forget. But the thing is, when people are running, and this is another feature characteristic of being human, we are immortal till we die. We never get injured till we get injured, kind of a thing. All of us suffer from that. So till the injury happens, there's no point talking to them about prevention, about, oh, but an injury could happen. They don't listen to you. So I used to be very loud and vocal about don't do this and don't do that kind of thing. Now I say, please do it, get injured, I have a clinic to run. So I have no issues about people getting hurt. Please do. I mean, do all the wrong things in the world. I have a clinic to run, And there are a lot of colleagues who have their clinics to run. So please get hurt. And they don't learn. And if they do learn, there's a higher chance of them converting to learning a little bit more once they get hurt. Before that, they're Gyanis. All of them are Gyanis after having run one or two races. They're all Gurujis and they're all coaches today after one or two races ever. And good for them. What can I say? Coming to the police academy, it's a very, very interesting one, actually. Versus the army, because you have that background. That's why I'm kind of making that connect between the two. People who get into the armed forces, what happens for them is they wanted to be in the army. The fitness level is at a different level. When you're writing UPSC exam, you're aspiring to be and get into IES. Your base fitness is not at all comparable to people who want to get into into CDS or ND or whatever else, IMAs of the world and all that. What I'm really saying is the fitness levels generally, 90% of them are very, very low. What I'm really saying is if things are done in a proper way, in the 9 months that we get with the police academy, very, very proud of one simple fact. They truly are very deserving when the passing out parade is happening, because most of us mock them. Most of us joke about an IPS this and a policeman that. The training that they go through is pretty rigorous. There are 8 and 8 subjects, 8 outdoor, 8 indoors, and I get involved with the outdoor part of it. They do a fabulous job because some of them clear the exam in 1 year or one try. Some of them take 6 years, 7 years of sitting down in one single room and doing the thing. They're physically very inactive. They're very unfit at the beginning of the thing. So once done slowly, which I've played a decent role in the strength training part, all that. Last year and the year before, we didn't have any injuries getting to the passing out parade, which is a massive deal because injuries could happen and then they have to reappear for whichever subject they didn't clear. And it becomes trickier because when they're in the field, it's very tricky to then pass the exam. So all I'm really saying is the training that they go through, they would do the commando bit, they'll be left out in the forest and all that stuff is very decently high quality, actually. And Police Academy does a fab job. The faculty is amazing. Those stars are amazing. It's just been an eye-opener. I think I've contributed a little bit, but that's a very unique institution in the country because 𝗧𝗹𝗪𝗚 was given a job of keeping the country together. If it wasn't for this particular academy, more than actually the army, because there were two different games on. One was internal, one was external. The whole federal system that was put into place, that IPS will be federal. You could be from one state going to the other one kind of a thing versus then state police academies. That kept it together. It's very unique because it is not just given to us by the British. It was started from scratch because earlier it was only state police academies that were there.
At Ashoka, you did something interesting. You instilled sports science for college students, and Ashoka is dear to me because my daughter graduated out of that institute last year. And
Right.
Sanjeev and Pramath have been on my podcast as well. Great institute. But what is your experience? And this is a completely different bunch of people that you're dealing with. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, I didn't realize how different. I got in there because I was in a conversation. I called a friend, a running friend, Professor Gil Harris. At that time, he wasn't a professor to me, but Gil. I called him and I was like, listen, I'm struggling, So I knew that he was part of some institution which was trying to do something and it wasn't getting very far, or I thought so. And we would kind of just have a conversation or two once in a while we were running about it. So I was like, let's catch up and let's talk about this. What institution is it? And when I came back to India, I was like, I'll create a foot soldiers being physiotherapist, my foot soldiers being them, and the whole fitness and aches and pains and how do you approach it and raise the quality of how they are trained and all that stuff. And I thought I'll get rid of back pain and knee pain in the country. I really didn't get very far with that. But anyways, I thought I'll have a conversation with them and maybe collaborate with whatever college or university is talking about, where we could do the whole physio training. But I spoke to him for an hour or so. And after an hour, such a great listener. He didn't interrupt me at all. He didn't interrupt me and tell me that the college was not a professional college for physios at all. He just listened to my stories and complaints and all that, like a good friend. And then he told me, by the way, we're not into all this. I'm like, yeah, you could have told me minute one or something. But he didn't. But then he said, listen, but you could be the missing piece of the jigsaw that we didn't know we were looking for. In the sense, we are creating these world leaders, but you're the guy who's very kicked about fitness and health and all that. Would you want to kind of collaborate in some way? Come with us and do this. And maybe it's too early. Maybe you want to come in 2 years later, maybe once it's set a little. So I told him, listen, maybe 2 years later would be a bad idea because by then the culture would be set. And then there's no need of me. I mean, then you can carry on, do your thing. If I can play a role, it's in the very beginning. Then I was connected with another co-founder. You've taken a name of a couple of them, but another one, Vineet Gupta. Yeah. And we got along really well. And that conversation went really well. And then Pramath I met while I was doing the first visit to the campus. So he was in the same bus. And there were other founders as well in that trip. So I kind of was introduced to a few, not knowing if I was yet signing up or not for it. So my role at Ashoka was very simple in my eyes. And I think there was a slight misunderstanding, not necessarily in the beginning, but later as other team members came on. With the founders, it was very clear my role was that I'll be not only physical fitness for physical fitness sake, because the infrastructure can be created by a vendor. You don't need me for that. But what I was trying to do there was create a culture of physical activity for the university across. For the most active to inactive, Police Academy comes in that because, listen, I mean, those were people who wanting to be active and they were at the academy. Yeah. Now what do you do with them? How do you make them active? I'm glad the academy happened because like an unfinished job for me in my head. So I'm glad because Ashoka, that bit I struggled with. So we created whatever. There were challenges like the master architects telling me there was this one conversation when I was wanting the football field to be a certain length and dimensions. I was told, but it's not a sports university. It's an academic university. It's not a sports complex. I was baffled by that statement. I was like, wow, are they not human beings? Are they not kids who are 17, 18-year-olds? And I was like, brilliant. These are the guys who are creating the blueprint for the university. I was like, right, amazing stuff. The swimming pool, we were trying to create like an Olympic size, and there was this conversation. It ended up being smaller than Olympic size. It's wider, but it's not long enough. So that was an issue. Then again, the track, there was no track. You go there and whatever. Even the infrastructure, people can brag about what infrastructure. In any case, if something is not right, that's my fault because I was the guy responsible for it. So I can complain. But all I'm really saying is the challenges I was facing, even providing that bit, because the mindset was very different. So first 3-6 months, there wasn't a challenge because, as I said, the founders were totally with me with whatever madness I was trying to do. I was getting the faculty converts. They were kind of believing me, trusting me, whatever I was trying to do. The professor of philosophy or psychology or both of them, one of them said that to me, that I thought only so far that I was only living in my head. So the brain was the only thing that was necessary and not my body. And here you are, and I totally love the way you
The
are
only thing
excited
running in
about it.
my body is my brain.
Pretty much something on those lines. And he was like, listen, I thought I didn't need the rest of it. And he was serious when he was saying it. He wasn't trying to make a joke out of it. He was actually meaning that bit. And that was very interesting for me. And he was like, I'd converted the chap that, hey, listen, you will be thinking clearer if you're physically active. Look at most thinkers in the world, the good ones, the cutting edge ones, the big ones, all walkers, if not runners. You think clearer when you are on the walk, kind of a thing. And that's physical activity. So saying I'm not necessarily into this madness about where's the Olympic medal, because that excites me too. But saying what excites me more is, can I get the world leaders to be more active so the shelf life is more and they can think clearer for longer? So can the quality be better? I mean, that was my main interest. I was the director for sports, not director for sports medicine or science,
But yeah,
just sport. So it was actually a very challenging, very interesting, different role. So I was not a PE teacher. I didn't have a background of PE, but because of my 𝗨𝗪, that connected and things happened. So I kind of started doing things, and there was a particular incident where I had different times for the swimming pool. And at a university, the superheroes, Avengers, are the PhD holders. So the professors are the Supermans and Superwomen and Wonder Woman. So there was an incident. I'd actually put times when can a girl students can actually swim, when boy students can swim, when the both combined can do if they're okay with each other. When can the faculty do it? Because some students weren't okay with faculty being there.
yeah.
And when could it be an open house kind of a thing? So I had sections and times like that. And one professor created a mess, like who's he to tell us when to and when not to. My job at 𝗨𝗪 had been as a goalkeeper. You get no prizes for saving goals. Right? It's always the forward who's the champion, and hence the PhD guys matter more, not someone like me. I'm the goalkeeper. If even one thing goes wrong, that's on me. And all the good things, they take away, like trophies and medals and whatever else. And that there was a bit of an issue there. And after 2 years, the college had enough of me. I think I had enough of the college. I had to step out. And the one thing that I was after was combining, could I integrate the curriculum with physical activity, with kids being active? I remember that didn't happen. It just didn't take off. I had converts as some of the head of the departments and all that, like arts. He was totally with me. Again, I forget the gentleman's name. Amazing guy. We got along really well. And with psychology, I said, and philosophy, I got along really well. So English, Gil was on my side because once there was this student who was struggling with academics. He had got into college being a very, very good student. And here he was stuck. He was not able to write enough, all that. But the only thing I was given by Gil was, listen, but he's a good footballer. And that was a great assignment for me. Like, now, how do I combine sports, physical activity, and with the writing part of it? And it worked. And what I'm really saying is, we don't value enough how much physical activity brings on board with academics or becoming a better human being. And the biggest lesson you can take is not when you get your 99% all the time. That's not enough big learnings. The biggest learning comes when you fail. And on a sport field or while running, you fail every day. And I think that's what it teaches, to be humble and to get up again when you fall face first. Because at the age of 40, when you're first time thrown out of a company, whether as a CEO, CFO, or as an employee, and when that happens, you're suicidal again for the first time. So it's making you so resilient to life. And I think we've missed that chance because Ashoka is great. And I crib about Ashoka because it could have been greater. And I was integral to that part when that change could have happened, something I really kind of feel very bad about.
Never say never.
Never say never. And Police Academy happened and we made some changes there. And we get people who are commissioners and all that coming when they've served in the forces for a while and making changes to them. And it's happening at some level, if not Ashoka, where else. And I'm glad this happened for me because I would have been very, on my deathbed, very sad about the whole Ashoka game. That's okay. That's all right.
I'd read this line about 4 or 5 years back and it stayed with me. One way to live a successful life is to get really good at something and then communicate about it. So, become a great footballer and then you talk about football, you write about football, you communicate about football. You've been a successful author with 3 awesome books, regular columnist at HT and Mint, podcaster as well. Did writing and talking about your knowledge came very naturally to you? Was it a gradual
Not at
journey?
all. As much people who would either follow me on, say, social media, I've been doing reels for, today was the 113th day consecutively. It's a great meditation for me because I think of a topic that morning I work on it, I record it, I edit it, put it out there. It takes me 2-3 hours. Maybe someone sees it, maybe someone doesn't see it. I don't care, honestly, because it was never meant to be actually to begin with for other people. It was meant to be, like, as I said, like a little vipassana, a little bit of a meditation for myself, my little thing, my little exercise. And it's great if it's helping other people. Why not? But primarily it was for me, very selfishly. So that's happened. And when people see me on, like right now, I'm not a natural at this at all, by the way. I'm a massive introvert. If you see me at a yeah, totally. For me too. So if you see me at a party or a function, even a family function, if there's going to be one guy who's standing quietly in one corner, that's me. And very happily in my company, by the way. So I'm not like bored. I'm not like sad. I'm not missing anything. I'm just comfortable. Very introvert, very happy being introvert. No complaints about it. What changed was I spoke to you about my sports medicine, the director for the course there. His name is Dr. Peter Gregory. And under his supervision for my course, I did my dissertation was on cricket, the bowling, spin bowling, how it causes shoulder pain, all that. I had a simple, fun task to do. I carried my goniometer to measure the shoulder angles, and I went across all over the country, UK, to different cricket counties, and going to the stadiums, measuring all professional athletes, cricketers, their shoulder ranges this way, that way, kind of a thing. We ended up winning the best study for that particular year. And an introvert, academically, who had not won any kind of awards till then, ends up winning for whole of UK the best poster study award, something on those lines. The biggest thing there was not so much the money that I won from it, because that wasn't really a lot of money, but the thing that I won, and any prize is a big prize. But the big one was the first prize, if it is related to cricket, gets to present that at ECB annual meeting, England and Wales Cricket Board meeting, get to present your paper to them, like saying, what is the groundbreaking thing that you've done? Now, the tricky part was, here was a guy, when even in medical college, we used to have these things where every month or so your turn would come to present something to the class. Even to your classmates, I would feel very nervous presenting anything, going up to the stage and presenting anything. I was nervous like hell. So I wasn't only introvert, but I was massive stage fright. Speaking, massive issue. Here I was at ECB annual meeting. People who had written the books that I was reading about were there in the audience. And here I was going to trying to tell them about my little study about shoulder range of motion in spinners. And I was extremely nervous. I was like, I can't do this thing, man. I mean, I've written the paper. Paper's got prizes and all that. Come on, what is this about? So Peter was like, listen, you are going to present it. There's no two ways about it. This is a big deal. You don't understand.
The exit door is closed.
Yeah. Literally. I am sitting at the back end. If you do a simple thing, think of it like this, that these people don't know anything that you've done over this time, because maybe they've written books and chapters and whatever. You are the one who's gone on the ground, gone from county to county to county to county, taken the bus or the train, and looked at so many hundreds of cricketers looking at this. They don't know as much as you do about this one simple thing. They might know all of it. They are generalists in cricket, medicine, science, all that stuff. But super specialists in this little bit, that's you. You teach them what you've done. You take them through what you've done. If you can't answer something, I'm at the end of the room. I'll answer anything that you're stuck with. But first, it's on you. Now go teach them. And I went ahead and I taught them. I took them through. In school and in medical college, used to be a backbencher. So my way of talking about anything or writing about anything is, if a backbencher, me, can't understand it, I'm not going to do that. So it has to be as simple as I'm talking to myself. And I broke it down in simple stuff like that. And they were amazed because I was not using any big words, things like that. But I would break it down into smaller units saying, but how did I do it? How did I go about it in detail? Yeah. And that's how I like doing it. So I don't like complicating matters. I like breaking it down. And they loved that bit. As luck would have it, not even one single question was left for Peter Gregory, my mentor in sports medicine. And I addressed all of them because, it was just good fun the way the whole thing was. That one thing took away the stage fright from me. Just that one introduction. So sometimes in life, you need that one mentor who the courage. The first question you asked me about courage. Courage is when you're thrown into the deep end and then you're locked in that room or whatever, and you're unsure and you're scared like hell. You can't tell the world that you're actually very nervous and scared about it. And you need to kind of put yourself together. That's courage in some way. And that was a game changer for me as far as the public speaking goes, because that started something. But the writing bit, 2008, I'd come back and I'd been in Bangalore for a couple of years. Mint newspaper started in 2007 or 8. And for a particular story, I was approached. I gave my inputs, and the way they gave my inputs, they got in touch with me saying, you did a better job than whoever was actually writing the story. Could you carry on with us? Would you be interested? I was like, see, listen, I'm not a writer and all that. I can put the content together, the raw data kind of a thing, and then let's do something with it. My writing, if I say graduation for writing, Mint has played a very important role. Mint followed by HT, Hindustan Times, because I wrote for them for a very long time. The editors I've had there, phenomenal. 𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗃, still remember her. The way she kind of handheld me how to think. So I can put the story there or whatever the case studies are and the whatever, all that. But how do you put that story together? Is the reader interested in or the listener interested? 𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗃, hands down, like amazingly good at what she did with me. My page editor was Chaudhary. Come on. A good friend. How can I forget her name? Forgetting the name right now. But the thing is, she helped me again because she was very strict with me. She was like the principal. The other one was like a class teacher. So all I'm really saying is they kind of handheld and one step at a time. And then Penguin approached me for the Pain Handbook, saying, you've been writing for so long, 8 years or something I'd been writing for. And you write a lot about pain. Would you want to put a book together on it? And then they reached out to me again about the movement medicine book. So it was just like, one thing led to another. And all I'm really saying is, don't worry about you not knowing. Don't worry about you not being sure about it.
Yeah.
Jump into the deep end and something will come along. Your path will start opening up. It's like Himalayan clouds or weather. It could be very cloudy, but if you're kind of confident in yourself, those mountains will let you pass, those clouds will give part, and suddenly you'll be like Moses passing through. So it'll happen. Trust yourself enough.
My tweak or my style of addressing this is just like in public speaking, they say if you're going to be addressing a large crowd, don't look at everyone, just look at one person, make that eye contact and get that person on your side to start nodding. And similarly for writing, just think of one person, random one person. One person among 100 might like this article, and I'm just writing for that one person. Whether the other 100 are going to read or not doesn't matter. And it just flows. And we tend to undermine our knowledge thinking, oh, everyone knows this. Who would want to read my stuff? Like, I ran a marathon. What's the big deal? But there'll be some person who's just been wanting to run a marathon. He's in your network. He is connected with you and happens to read that. He might actually attribute his running marathon to your article, which he read 2 years back.
What happened? So for first 3-4 years, at least a couple of years, if not more, there wasn't any feedback. It was just me dealing with the editors and stuff like that. Seema Chaudhary was my page editor. How could I forget her name? Because she has really helped me, as I said, graduate as a writer. So what I've done with all of this is when I write for myself. It's simple. Is it making sense to me being 10 years, 20 years younger kind of a thing or 30 years younger kind of a thing? Who does not know the subject? When I speak similar to you, what I do is not one, but I pick 3. I say bank center, left and right. And that nodding starting to happen or that smile starting to happen is game on. You can't, and sometimes there's lights in your eyes. You can't even see anywhere. So you're just kind of looking into oblivion types. You don't even know if the audience is there or what the reaction is. And it's okay. For writing, as you said, it took 2-3 years before someone said, by the way, I have saved all your articles and I've now done this and that. And you need one follower, just that one. And it's enough to say you are on the right path. And don't worry about, is it going to be a million or not? How does it matter? Because to that one, you're everything, at least at that moment that they say. Maybe they're kind of exaggerating, but that's okay.
So for me, the wow line is, this is what I needed right now.
Yes.
I give it,
Totally.
Courage is all, not just physical. Of course, you've seen a lot of physical courage around you, but it's also emotional. Being vulnerable.
It's so much in the mind. Even if it's physical, it's all here first. And you can't separate out.
Very true. Being vulnerable requires courage. Being emotional requires courage. Any moment you remember when you could not hold back your tears in public?
Yep. So the big one happened when my mom passed away in 2019. And the interesting part before 2019 was me and my parents. So I'm the only child. It's not just such a rare thing, but it's a very rare thing because I'm the only child for my parents. So they would talk to me about death. almost as if they were preparing me for it. It was very frequently done at a certain stage. I don't know why. Anyways, and like a couple of years later, she passed away. And I didn't realize at my age, 2019, I didn't realize it would hit me so hard. And it did. It hit me really hard. And of course, her loss, all that. But what followed was something, when you're too much of a stud, the statement that you're told or you tell yourself is when you're hitting the rock bottom, you hit the rock bottom and you bounce back. Classic statements all over Instagram or Twitters and all that stuff of the world. Interesting quotes like that, like hit the rock bottom and bounce back. And I realized when you are feeling really crap in life, really bad, what happens is that rock bottom you realize is actually quicksand. You hit it and it takes you far deeper in. There is no bouncing back. Yeah, that bottom is actually not fixed. It's going like that all the time. So the harder you hit it, the further you go with it. And there's no bouncing back. So the big learning I had, so I kind of struggled with this whole thing for like a couple of years, this whole mom thing, or maybe even longer, 3 years maybe. The harder I tried, the further I went into it, that whole abyss kind of a thing. The one very big learning was in life, you're like a little bit of a bumblebee, or let's say a kite actually. You kind of imagine 𝗘𝗽𝗊𝗘 types. So you're kind of just floating. You're just floating. The more you let it float rather than pulling with whatever, you'll float longer. The more you try to control it, the more difficult it actually becomes to manage that. So that's been a very, very interesting one. So you talked to me, asked me about, like when there's a whole floodgate kind of a thing happens. It happened first time kind of close to that, like a few months after that, I'd stopped doing clinic and then I started doing clinic again. And I was behind a patient who had come to me for pain, both physical pain, the thing they come for, but when I start talking to them, there's a lot of emotional, mental issues on.
Invariably, the emotional pain is actually coming out in form of the physical pain.
Almost always. And when you kind of let them speak, you'll be surprised when you let them talk. They themselves kind of start, they're surprised, but hey, even that and even this. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist, but I was introduced to psychology, luckily, 25 years ago or something, very early on. So that helped. So here's this person who's already very vulnerable and has aches and pains and chronic pains and whatever. I'm standing behind that person examining, and that he or she, I don't remember what gender, sitting on the table, I'm examining. Luckily, the back was behind. So I was behind the back. And suddenly it starts. I had not planned it. And that was my first time, and I remember that clearly. The physiotherapist could see what's going on. Very, very ladylike, rushes out, gets napkins, tissue papers, all that, comes in, just passes it to me. No words spoken. Not then, not ever. And amazing how she handled. I kind of took care of whatever happened. But that was the first time, and it happened a lot of times after that. And you go through your phases, like people come to you for help, and people in positions like myself, where supposedly helping other people, supposed healer or doctor or whatever, at times we feel very lonely because what about us? What about me? And that becomes tough. We all need a shoulder. And you don't get it. And it becomes tough.
I think there's something about tearing up. Once you do it, you find it more comforting to do it the next time and the next time. So I was preparing for my first Ironman, and this was a half Ironman I had to do in the practice. So I woke up at 6, did an hour-long swim, picked the bike, 3.5 hours of bike ride. It was around 10:30 by that time. I kept the bike, started my run. Around 11 kilometers, I precisely know where I was when at 11 kilometers, around 11:30 in the afternoon. It was March, fairly sunny, hot. Middle of the road, Rajat. I just stopped. What am I doing? What's wrong with me? I just started crying. I just let myself cry. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Solo runs, solo training than that. And after that, there have been like multiple half and full marathons where I get to the finish line. Even before I get the medal, I just go in a corner. I just want to find some space for me. I just sit down and cry. 5 minutes. Just cry. There'll be a couple of incidents where, yeah, are you okay? Yeah, man, I'm okay. So it's something about tearing up, especially as adults. It certainly makes me, and especially for men, because we are those
More
हमारा वो जनरेशन है ना अमिताभ
बिल्कुल
सब भुगत रहे बैठ के
नहीं बिल्कुल and just to add to that, also what happens is that you said first time it happens, you're more comfortable doing that. Like I remember in flights, for example, it would hit you suddenly. And that's the thing about this. It just hits you at any random time. Either you're talking to someone, you could be reading a book, you could be on a flight, whatever, you could be in a cafe. for no rhyme or reason at times. So actually, at times, there's no reason also. Or most of the times, there's no reason also.
And you should not try to, because it would spoil the fun.
Exactly. And it's okay. We men or we human beings, the most important part is we need to be gentler with our own selves before whoever else. And what about you? What about us? Kind of a thing. So,
So I just saw this clip of this American runner who was running the 200-meter final in the Olympics or something. At about 100 meters, tore his hamstring, stopped, limp. Mother comes out from nowhere and carries him along. I started crying. I had no history of my father helping or anything like that, but that whole father-son bond kind of just transformed me suddenly. Like, oh my God, this is too touching. That makes sense. Interesting question. What's the question that you're still searching an answer for?
That's very profound. I don't know. Okay, so let me just give one. I'm just kind of thinking aloud right now, but one very basic one is what's wrong with human beings? It bothers me, and that's why I kind of say this. Like, what's going on in the world is it's one of those things when you're an empathetic person and you're a bit too much, unnecessarily you stress about things, and it bothers me. And no one standing up. I'll tell you where I'm coming from. So I didn't necessarily do very well in history, but what happened was I ended up, I think it's about teachers. Your teachers aren't good, you don't love the subject. You can't blame the student all the time. It's on the teacher as well. But I love history, but I never did well in history. So I think it's about the teacher rather than just me. But the part I love about history is a lot about the Second World War, how things happened and whatever. And I'm not necessarily a very good student of it, but I yet love the whole game that's on, the Game of Thrones almost, and the pre-Second World War, the whole Nazi era. And I wasn't really sure how could that ever possibly happen. And here we are. History repeats itself. Right? True. And it's like, oh my God, but of course. Because I'll tell you what bothered me most. It wasn't so much about what Hitler did and what Nazi was and what happened to Jews, or that was there. My main one was, why was no one standing up and taking a stand? If someone was to tell me that, but US did and the UK did and whatever, or England did and all that. No, they didn't. When they were being asked for help, they weren't actually. Exactly. When it came on them is when they acted. Any of them. Same is the story today. No one is acting no one across the board and for anyone, unless it's actually about them. I'm saying whether at individual level or whether at a national global level, what's going on here? And the way I actually think about it always is we are almost all in a kindergarten and there's a bully and there are no bullies. And there are those who just witness the bullying and say nothing about it. I keep going back to that whole thing again and again in my head. And it just bothers me, like, what are we about? Because in my head, I'm not a believer. I don't believe in God and I don't believe in afterlife and any of that stuff. And that's just me. I'm spiritualish kind of a thing, but religion really doesn't work for me. So that's taken care of. Afterlife, I don't believe in it. It's done. That's it for me. Right? But while we are here, what is going on? And then you want to be religious. Come on.
That's true.
So that one maybe,
What's one thing that you now know for sure, which bugged you for a very long time?
There's no God, So that's just me again. I'm just very sure about it, saying if one was right and others were wrong, there's a problem right there. If there's a God, I mean, where's he or she right now? And there's such a need maybe. And then we can justify it and we can talk about all. I'm a massive fan of Upanishads and Vedas and all that. I'm such a split personality. I'm a massive student of those things. But yet here I am saying, listen, don't believe in any of that. The learnings are amazing in such texts. I love them. I was in a school, so it was a Christian school. I was in Mussoorie, Weinberg-Allen. 5th to 8th, I was there. And I know the Bible or knew the Bible more than my own literatures. A great book, great stories. And now when I know more about my own, I'm so glad I get to know my own because they're far deeper than I thought originally of them. And I feel sorry for people who call themselves religious and haven't read those books. So I wish more than religious, if they'd read those books.
Like that only.
Yes. I wish they had read those books.
People don't read.
Precisely.
That's true. One word to describe yourself?
Maverick is a word I would like to call myself.
I like that. A book or books that you quote the most or have influenced you the most? Anything which comes to your mind. I'm not going to make you swear to it.
Actually, right now, so I'm on this little journey of mine, and that's why we all live in the now. So let's talk about the now, rather than saying, let me think too hard about the past. Upanishads are really, I'm blown away by them. I'm totally blown away by them. This is literature from 3, 4, I don't know, I mean, how many thousand years ago. Oh my God, it's relevant anytime, in any situation. And it's so deep. And so I'm working on a book right now, and hence I say Upanishads, because I'm trying to combine running and lessons from Upanishads and Vedas,
Very
combining the
interesting.
two together. Because Upanishads, if you want to talk about philosophy, I mean, come on, beat Upanishads. The depth of it, phenomenally good, and lucky that I can call them ours kind of a thing rather than saying
Yeah.
theirs, because 360 view of everything is phenomenally good. Whether you talk about the chariot or you talk about 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗲𝗁. So I'm such a split personality, as I say. 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗲𝗁 isn't necessarily about religion, or is it actually about being more realistic? I think it's
Yeah.
about being more realistic. That's how I look at it. It's just phenomenally good. So I'm trying to combine the two. And then what I'm trying to do is my philosophy coming from Upanishads. I'm not trying to teach anyone Upanishads because I don't know enough to teach anyone Upanishads. But I'm saying I'm taking the lessons from there, learnings from there, and then applying to physical activity and how amazing the human body and the mind is. And then actually saying, by the way, it's not even about running, by the way. It's actually about life, and maybe no life either. I mean, maybe we are just nothing. We are just a dream, maybe. I don't know. That's the book I'm trying to play around
Right.
and mess around with right now. Yeah.
And the book that has inspired you?
The book that inspired me. I mean, Upanishad. No, I mean, so,
Outside of the Upanishad.
I'll just stick with that because I'll have to think too much right now otherwise. So, yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
think that makes sense. One race which you had always wanted to run, but for circumstances never did.
There are few actually. So, I signed up for Berlin long time ago, had the entry, didn't go. There was another one, Leipzig, whatever, in Germany. Again, had entry to Leipzig. It was a 100-kilometer race I'd got into, didn't go. I wish I'd done both of them actually back then. I'm talking about 2004. I
Wow.
wish I'd gone. Tromso I did. Then Badwater used to be up there for me, and then my race happened, and then it was a bit of a joke, Badwater, because Badwater only has one element. We have like extremes, all kinds. So that comrades maybe, but where I've got to in life is, as much as I've said all this, where
Yeah.
I am right now is, and for a very long time, by the way, 19 years now, I don't
Yeah.
race. And such a, again, as I say, I'm a split personality. I'm like, I fake so much, I think. So basically, I put races for a very long time together, but last race that ran for myself was 2007, that Bangalore Ultra.
Wow.
And I'm not keen to race or take part in any race unless there's a friend who says, "Acha, come along, pace me," or something. And which is a very rare thing, by the way. I hardly would agree to
मैं
it.
बोलता हूँ, मैं बुलाता हूँ.
Uh,
Got you on camera now.
Yeah, no. What I like doing is, and that's what I'm really headed with my whole running journey, is putting running retreats. And like last year was interesting for me. I went to Switzerland twice, and once was with the wife, and it was the 25th anniversary. And one morning I was missing in action. I came back. I thought I came back early, and I came back early to the hotel 9:30 or something. She was still in the bed, and I'd cut short my run, which was a beautiful run. I was really loving running up that mountain. I'm forgetting the name, whatever that mountain was.
Yeah.
And I came back and she yelled at me saying, "Did you come for this?" And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, Switzerland, for God's sake, right? A paradise for a runner or outdoor anything, rather than touristing or train here and there kind of a thing. So 2 months later, I was back again with my son, elder son, and we ran for 11 days, 2 to 3 times a day, short distances, 10 kilometers only, but he runs very quick. One of the days he actually beat me for a change. But the thing is, it kind of hit me that what I want to really do is make people explore different places. And maybe as a small group, I want to take them on small journeys. I mean, I need to really make it happen where it's not about the distance at all. I've done those whole 555s and the toughest and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that anymore, actually. But in places they kind of dream about, want to do, is on their dream list kind of a thing, bucket list. Why not explore there?
Wow.
That gives me more kick. So I'm an introvert. I'm a guy who doesn't like crowds. 3 is a crowd for me, or 4 is a crowd for me kind of a thing. I like, if it's a best friend, for example, I like a one-on-one. I'm not sharing that one-on-one with anyone. So that kind of a thing. I mean, I'm that kind of a person. I like small crowds, if at all. So if it's 10, 15, 20 people, them doing things together, that's what's on right now. So Switzerland, currently I'm trying to explore Alps, maybe a bit of Germany, maybe a bit of the Eastern European bit, maybe. I mean, I'm just generally randomly. My go-to places, which are high up there, actually in this list, are Nordic countries, right up there. I love them. The way things are there. And I don't like people, so it suits me very well because there are hardly any people there. It fits.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, now comes the favorite part. Now you have a chance to give it back to me. What's the question you have for me?
What does running triathlon mean to you? Why do it?
It's meditation. It is as fundamental as breathing. For me, the oft repeated line is that why the mental health industry is getting it wrong is the real secret to solving mental health problems is physical. Beyond a point, you can't talk to a person and get him cured. But take him for a run. Even if he was anticipating problems, they will not come. For me, running is an antibody. Running is my immunity. It ensures that I stay immune to problems. And that's the reason why I was so upset when the doctor said surgery. I was like, I'm not getting a surgery done. I'm not giving up my physical fitness. And of course, being transformation. Running has changed my social life, my physical life, my health, my outlook to life has changed simply because of my running. And you get to travel, you get to meet new people, you get inspiring podcasts with doctors like you. It couldn't have been happened. I mean, I still look at my version of me before I started running. I laugh at myself. I'm like, imagine I was in Japan for 10 years. I don't mind going on camera. I was in Japan for 10 years. I actually lived in Tokyo. Never knew there's anything called Tokyo Marathon. Can you beat that?
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. It's a really sad part, right? Yeah.
I used to go to clients' places where people were running during lunchtime. I mean, Japanese are crazy. They run during lunch break. Never struck me. Why am I not running? And of course, being transformational, and it will always be something which I will taking to my grave as one of my major achievements in life to have actually discovered running and the beauty of it. Hey, thanks a lot, Rajat. It's been a beautiful, awesome discussion. I know I've exceeded the time, but I don't think there's a single minute of the whole conversation which I would want to cut out in any way. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thank you.